Welcome to another episode of Cup of Joe. I am your host, Joe Van Kampen. Today we have a very exciting guest with us, Siska, CEO and co-founder of KaleidoscopeXR. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So to start everything off, Ollie, tell us a little bit about KaleidoscopeXR. Tell us where the business came from and all of those different aspects.
Well, KaleidoscopeXR is a company, local Calgary company that produces virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence applications. And it had a very interesting start in that we were about a year into COVID and everybody was unemployed. And being a single mom, you have to pay the bills. And so I called up one of my partners, David, and I said, hey, let's start a company. Let's do the crazy thing.
Amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about your VR platform itself and kind of how that came to be and where all that came from?
Yeah, so one of our products, Caregiver VR, is a multi-user platform that was really designed, and the idea did come out of COVID because people could not get together in a room to properly train. And the long-term care industry had a particular problem because they have multiple locations all over the place. And how do we train enough people in a situation of a crisis? We know that people in healthcare during COVID were dropping off and not even wanting to be in healthcare anymore because of the risks. And so the idea for Caregiver VR came up that instead of having the trainer run around between locations, why don't we bring the locations to the trainer?
Very cool.
And the beauty of virtual reality allows us to do that, put multiple people in a headset to allow for that training to happen.
Very, very cool. What is a typical training session utilizing Caregiver VR? What does that look like?
So basically, an instructor goes into a classroom with up to 20 students, and they present whatever they're going to study at the time. And the platform's really designed. It's live facilitated training, so you could train on pretty much any subject you wanted to.
Okay.
The whole idea is to teach caregivers how to diffuse difficult situations. So how do we diffuse someone that might be escalating, and how do we de-escalate those situations? So after the trainer takes the students through the case scenario, whatever subject that they might want to study, say it's a piece of dementia, then they go into a room, which could be a long-term care room, acute room, depending on what scenario they want to select. And once the student would assume the role of the caregiver or the resident, and vice versa, the other person would assume the other role.
Sure.
And then they would practice that scenario where everybody else can observe as to see how do we diffuse that.
Okay, so let's put this into an example, you and I. I'm the instructor and you're the caregiver that's being trained. So I'm here in Calgary, and let's just say that you're, I don't know, in Minneapolis as an example. So you and I can be having a conversation over this VR system, and I can be training you directly. And not just you, we've got somebody in Austin, Texas. We've got somebody in Orlando. We've got people all over North America or even the world. And we can be having these types of conversations. And then in this virtual reality, we can flip back and forth. So you could basically be the caregiver, and I could be maybe the person who has dementia. And then we could flip, and I could be the caregiver and you could be the person that has dementia. Okay, so that's very cool. So what does somebody actually see when they are attempting to be the person who has dementia, or they're acting as that person who has dementia? What is that experience like?
Right. So virtual reality, to really maximize the tool, there are things you can do in it because it's a full digital environment that you can't do in real life. I can tell you right now to assume the role of a patient and pretend to have dementia.
Sure.
That's going to give you some thought about it, but it's really not going to give you that empathy. It's really not going to put you in the shoes of the person, whereas virtual reality can do that. So within the experience, there's a dementia suite where the instructor can choose different symptoms. So auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations that can be triggered. And so you would be, as the patient, the only person who's experiencing all those symptoms. And meanwhile, the caregiver has to try and figure out how to communicate with you when you've got all the stimulus going on to just get you to fulfill a simple task.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, like I said before, I'm in Calgary, you're in Minneapolis. If I'm the person who's experiencing dementia from this VR perspective, you said, audible signals or visual signals or different things like that. So I'll be hearing something and you won't be able to hear it, or I'll be seeing something and you won't be able to see it. And so you're trying to maneuver around that conversation. What are some of these signals that somebody who is going through the VR with dementia what would they see and hear?
So they might experience some auditory hallucinations where just someone's talking to them certain messages over and over.
Who's at the door? Hopefully it's my delivery this time.
They might experience some visual distortions. There might be some insects crawling on the wall. And all of these things are based on research that we did of what these experiences might look like. And, there was a case of a lady who would never go to sleep at night and they couldn't figure out why. And it was finally they figured out that there were shadows coming through the curtains because there were a couple of holes in the curtains. And they looked like insects on the walls. So she had this fear of I can't go to sleep. There are bugs crawling around. So we try to take those scenarios and really input those experiences in.
Very cool. So how does the team react when they first get this VR on? Tell me a little bit about that.
So it's, I love putting people in VR for the first time ever. It is such a wow factor.
Right.
And some people still have fears about it. Am I going to get sick from VR? And it's come a long, long way. So if anybody who tried VR 15 years ago would probably be very hesitant to go in. But it's come such a long way with the technology that everything and how you build your experience, that those fears get very quickly dispelled. And there's this excitement about, wow, is this a real room?
Yeah, for sure. That's very, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, your history prior to getting into the VR world. What was it specifically about Alzheimer's or dementia or so forth and so on that kind of drove you towards this tech and then this industry?
So they're kind of two separate things. I spend about 25 years in the nonprofit sector.
Okay.
And COVID came, I was in the performing arts,
Right.
Everything shut down, and it's kind of, what do you do? And it's make a switch now or never. And I was on a project where I got introduced to VR. And as soon as I put the headset on, I could see the potential impact this could have on people and on training and just bettering the world. To me, everything has to have social good behind it.
Sure.
So this was just a perfect tool for me to go from that social good nonprofit to a for-profit, but still going along with those core values.
Right.
For me personally, caregiver, it has a very special place in my heart because one day my husband of 14 years woke up in the morning and looked up at me and said, I don't remember how to tie my shoes. 4 months later, we were in a neurologist's office who told him that he has early onset Alzheimer's. And I found myself in a situation where everybody wants to give you a card and say, here's a good therapist. But what about the skills of taking care of someone? I had no idea what to do. I had no idea. And he would escalate, and I had no idea how to deal with that.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that. And I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. But it sounds to me that experience has driven you to something that's absolutely fantastic. And you're seeing that need and a good reason as to why this system and this product needs to be out in the world. So I appreciate everything that you're doing with that. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about the communities specifically? Is there a specific piece of feedback from a group of communities or a community specifically, anything like that you feel has been, maybe a driving force or made you think or anything like that has helped you get successful?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually did a validation study with SC Health in Toronto,
Okay.
And when we did this study, we had all kinds of participants, from students to instructors who've been instructing, nurse practitioners who've been instructing for the last 20 years. And what was really neat is the students had the, wow, okay, now I understand factor. But what was really interesting was wowing those instructors, because they've been through this material 100 times. And when you can put somebody into that experience and they walk out after teaching this for 20 years and go, wow,
Yeah.
okay, new perspective for me. If you can give someone of 20 years a new perspective, that's amazing.
And in so many communities, we have people that are exactly like that. I know this is kind of funny. We have EDs in our communities that are as young as 27, and we even have one that's as old as the residents, right? And individuals, nurses and things like, and people like that who have been with their same communities for decades and decades. So a tech like this could be a game changer for nurses who have already dealt with this forever, but also those young people coming in. So it's really, really exciting that you guys are doing this. So can you tell me a little bit about whether or not a community can tailor the training specifically to their needs and what they're specifically after?
Absolutely, because it's live training.
Right.
It's whatever the instructors want to teach. So
Okay.
whatever they want to focus in on, they present the case. So it's not as big a change management piece. It's just going to another piece of equipment and having more resources to teach the material. But really, they already have the material. It's just how it's getting translated,
Right.
and having that extra tool to show.
That's cool. What your VR is doing is allowing these people to be consistent with their training, right? So that now it's not just about the training that happens within the community, but every single individual in that specific group is now getting that exact same training, and you can go through that for days on end in training courses, and then send everybody out and then figure out where those gaps are and bring everybody back in, rather than now I got to fly to, New York, and now I got to fly to here, and now I got to go here, right? And get that trainer burnout, right?
Yeah.
So it's that's a very, very cool system. So speaking of training and trainer burnout and being able to talk to all those different individuals in different areas, what type of tech do we actually require in order to be able to take care of these people and make sure that everyone's getting the same information?
Right. So basically, when we built the application, we wanted it to be as accessible as we could make it.
Sure.
So we built it for a consumer grade headset, which is the Oculus 2 at the time. Now we're on to a 3, probably a 4 soon if I blink. And the whole idea was so that you did not need heavy duty gaming equipment. We could take the whole application and put it directly into the headset.
Right.
It's important to keep those costs in the long-term care industry down and really make things as accessible as they can be.
Yeah.
So at this point, if you want to join the caregiver application, it's just a headset away.
That's very cool. There's obviously a couple of major techs coming out right now that are going to be game changers for our industry and every industry, AI, VR, 3D printing, so forth and so on. So I don't think VR is going anywhere but up. But tell me, what do you see the future for VR being?
So I see the future of AI and VR fusing, coming together. I think that there are attempts being made at it right now. AI is still in its infancy, trying to really, really kind of catch up to that integration piece.
Yep.
And but the changes are so quick right now. It's so fast that I think within 5 years we're going to have that integration with the AI and the VR, where you're going to be able to go in and you're going to be able to sit with an avatar that is now AI enabled and can organically answer those questions and do that training organically.
You're anticipating this to be the new normal.
Absolutely. We're already working on that.
Yeah, very cool. So how do you find operators are responding overall when they see the tech?
I would say there are two groups of people. You've got your champions, and when you come across a champion, fantastic. They understand the technology, they understand your objectives or their objectives and how that goes together. And then you have the hesitant group that are still kind of like, if I touch it, I'm going to break it.
Right.
And it's just about getting people comfortable with. This is no more complicated than your cell phone's more complicated than that headset.
Right.
And that's essentially what you have in there is the processing power of a cell phone. So don't worry, hit the on-off button. You're not going to break it.
That's okay. So they're pretty, everyone's kind of pretty excited about all of that. That's amazing. So with Caregiver VR specifically, how are we and what do we see the future of the client experience being in terms of the actual resident experience? What does that resident experience look like from a VR perspective? Or is there a future in that for Caregiver VR?
So Caregiver VR is not designed for the residents. It's just for the trainees, so for the practitioners. However, there's nothing to say that there can't be applications for the residents to accomplish different things, whether it's relaxation, stimulation. It depends on what it is. And there are a lot of products out there already that do some of this stuff. So that is really an area that's definitely on the uptake.
Cool. And for Kaleidoscope XR, outside of the Caregiver VR, what's next for Kaleidoscope?
So for Kaleidoscope, we have just released an AI platform called OSCE AI Pro.
Okay.
And that particular platform is designed for nurses, doctors, anybody who has to take an OSCE exam, which is basically the practical exam to be able to practice in your field. These exams that they have to take in order to be licensed are extremely expensive to do. You have to have a one-way mirror room. You've got an instructor behind it. You have to hire an actor to be able to...
it's pretty involved.
Yeah, it's very involved. To be the patient, they have to study their lines and all of that. And so what OSCE AI Pro does is it allows you to sit down at your computer and have a virtual patient and have a case. And it is you as the doctor or the nurse going through a differential diagnosis, going through your communication skills, and you get feedback on how you did with that avatar.
Very cool. So Ollie, prior to us filming this session, we had talked a little bit about case study information, different pieces like that. So to our audience, I want to make sure that you're aware that we are going to have a couple of links to those so that you can take a look at those if that's something that you're interested in. Ollie, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested?
If you'd like to reach us, our website is KaleidoscopeXR.ca. And if you'd like to reach me personally, it's Ollie, O-L-I, at KaleidoscopeXR.ca. I look forward to hearing from you.
Amazing. And of course, you guys know how to get in touch with me, joe@citizen55.com or 403-903-3703. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a great pleasure having you on the show, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.